Money is not a goal, but it's a tool. So let's talk about money. Everyone is obviously obsessed with money, but most people have actually no idea why they're so obsessed with it. And the harsh truth is that money is actually not the goal, and it never has been, and it never will be. Money is just a tool that gives you options, freedom, and the ability to design the life you actually want. But the problem is too many people never get to use money in this way, because most of us are trapped in a survival mode. Most of us are so consumed with worry about bills and scraping by that they don't have the bandwidth to think about what truly actually brings them joy, peace, or fulfillment. And this is one of the things that I recognized once I started to make multiple 5 figures per month. I didn't understand why I wanted that money, except the fact that I want to feel in peace, and I get it. Because when you're in that headspace, it's basically just much easier to think having more money will solve everything, right? But I realized that is actually very wrong, because when we make money as the end goal, we start to obsess over it, and we let it consumes. It's something that I've done in the past, and I'm regretting, because we work ourselves into the ground trying to keep up with like other people, impress strangers, maybe even impress yourself, and chase trends that you don't even care about. You know, we basically get caught in the never-ending race that honestly doesn't lead anywhere worth going, and also is not going to satisfy you at all. I think most people don't know what they want to do with their own life if money wasn't an issue, and I also didn't know that, like, because I was so focused in survival mode, that I never thought about the things that I was enjoying. And if that's the case in your life where you think, oh, if I would get more money, this, it's because your mind is stuck in constant financial stress and your energy is focused more on surviving instead of thriving. And until you break that out of that, like, mindset, money will always own you, and it's not going to be the other way around. You know, if you constantly are so busy running on the hamster wheel of, like, survival mode, you will never have the luxury to think beyond that survival mode. And you might be thinking, okay, so how do I treat money as a tool? How can I have that luxury? The first step is really identifying you're clear why you need to know what drives you beyond just wanting more dollars in your bank account. That could be something creating a meaningful, maybe helping your family or having the freedom to explore and travel the world. But whatever that is, you need to first identify that, and you have to let that be your motivation. If your sole purpose is getting more money, then you will never going to own money. Money will always own you, because money should be used to facilitate bigger goals. Not to sit there and make you feel secure or give you bragging rights, basically. But to get to that place where you can do that, you have to adopt an abundance mindset. But one thing you need to remember is that money is the fuel and it's not the goal. One of the most transformative shifts you can make on your journey to financial success, in my opinion, is moving from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. It took me such a long time to make this massive shift. But it's so important, and I want you to pay attention to this, because this change is not going to just alter how you think about money, but it basically fundamentally changes how you act and make decisions, and ultimately the results you get and achieve from life. And I realize that most people, including my old self, operate with scarcity mindset. And let me be honest, it's basically losing mentality. If you're constantly worrying there's not enough money to go around, that the opportunities are like slipping away from you, or other people's success somehow like makes it harder for you to succeed. It might sound stupid, but like, you know, when somebody succeeds, you kind of feel like your part of success is getting taken. If that makes sense. In the scarcity mindset, you're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And scarcity mindset makes you like more reactive and fearful. It basically convinces you that your resources save every single penny out of fear of future, and avoid taking any risk that could actually lead to growth. And when you have that, you know, when I used to have this mindset, I was like thinking defensively. I was making more short-term decisions because I was too focused on protecting the little I had in my bank account. You know, that mindset will keep you stuck in the same mediocre situation year after year, because you are living in constant survival mode, and you're only focused on scraping while you're just trying not to lose. And that's not how you make money. So what is the difference compared to the abundance mindset? It's basically, in my opinion, everything in life, including money, relationships, health, everything. Abundance mindset is a necessary mindset, because it allows you to understand that money isn't some limited resource, but it's created, exchanged, and multiplied everywhere. And when you have abundance mindset, you start to see opportunities everywhere, and you start to think people are not getting rich because they're lucky, but they are more like trained to think in terms of growth and possibility. If someone is coming from a wealthy family, yes, they are lucky, but in my opinion, the biggest factor is the abundant mindset that they have, where most people are scared and trying to think short-term, wealthy people, wealthy families, things in terms of like opportunity and growth, because they have this abundance mindset. And when you adopt an abundance mindset, your basically actions change, because you don't waste time being bitter or envious of people who are winning. And you don't like whine about how system is unfair, how the world is unfair, blah, blah, blah. Instead, you basically figure out how to play the game better. You become willing to invest in yourself, whether that's through education, networking, or developing skills that will pay you more in the future. It can be anything. But you start to not be afraid to spend money on things that have potential to multiply your income in the future. Because when you have abundance mindset, that playing safe, it's not going to get you anywhere. And it's actually not safe at all. It's just a slow way to lose. And I don't want you to mistake this with like reckless optimism, to be honest, because the bonded mindset isn't just about like being delusional or pretending like you're rich. It's more about understanding that money follows value. So if you can create some sort of value in life, something that people want, and solve actually people's problem, money will come. That is the mindset. It's not that you're chasing money, but you're more like, okay, I'm going to create a value, and money will follow that. It's more about like having the confidence to calculate risks, knowing that you can recover from setbacks because opportunities are endless and you know how to create those opportunities. When you have this abundance mindset, it also means that you're not like fixated on short-term goals. You basically start to think more bigger and more in long-term, and you start to build systems that can generate income without you trading hours for dollars, like directly, because you understand the power of leverage. It can be using technology, content, or investments to multiply your impact. And you understand that even if you lose money right now by investing into yourself, you can make that money back by creating opportunities to yourself. You get more strategic about where you put your energy and time and attention towards, because you know that time is your most valuable asset and not money, because money can be always made. And you are confident in that because you have the abundance mindset. But when it comes to time, it cannot be made again. So you are very highly protective towards that. Most people are protected towards their money, but not towards their time, even though it should be the other way around. And I realize that wealthy people always prioritize time when it comes to money. They have this abundance mindset, basically. I feel like most of us have a scarcity mindset towards money, which is, fair enough, it makes complete sense. But in my opinion, if you want to get out of that mindset, and if you want to change your mindset, the first thing that we need to do is really stop blaming the external world, politics, government, location, and whatever that you have, and start working on your internal framework, because the way you think about money and opportunities define the moves you make. Because I just realized that perfect conditions never exist, and you're not going to find success by waiting perfect conditions or hoping someone will come save you, because the world isn't fair and it will never be, and nobody's going to save you. So we need to first accept it and ask ourselves, what can I do to start building something valuable today? Because waiting and complaining is not going to get you anywhere. We need to start seeing money more as a skill, which is something that you can learn, practice, and get better at. And yes, it does take work. It's not like, you get an online course and sudden you're a millionaire. It takes getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that 99% of people aren't willing to do. Because if you want to be in that 1% of mindset and wealth, you have to think differently, act differently. You have to have the discipline to keep pushing forward when it's hard. So how can you get the abundance mindset towards money and stop having this scarcity mindset? It's by our next mindset shift, SLH habit, which is working on scalable things and using leverage. When you start to do this, you naturally get out of that scarcity mindset, and it's going to be much easier for you to adopt the abundance mindset. Before I explain this, I just want to clarify the very hard truth about wealth, which is world is never fair and it's never going to be okay. Because think about it, doctors spend years in schools and hours of practice, and they save lives, work insane hours, yet a YouTuber or a content creator can earn more in a month than a doctor makes in a year. It sounds ridiculous and it sounds unfair, but that's how the system works. Because money doesn't reward effort or social value. It rewards scale and leverage and understanding. This will all love you to see money more as a tool in a systematic way. Because you can sit around and complain about how unfair the life is, or you can learn to play the game. A favorite quote of mine says that don't hate the player, hate the game, and if you want to win, you have to understand and work with the system, not against it. In my opinion, accepting this reality is very harsh and, it made me really sad. But it actually gives you power because it lets you make more strategic decisions instead of emotional decisions about how you make money and how you earn. So what is exactly scalability and leverage? So scalability is basically when your work has the potential to reach a limitless audience and generate income the hours you put in. For example, if you are a content creator like a YouTuber, if you make one video, it has the potential to reach millions of people. Right? Even after you post that video, even years after it can still generate views and money. So your work is not directly tied to the hours you put in. You first, and once you make that video, it can indefinitely get views and it can also potentially make indefinitely money. However, if you would compare this to a traditional job like being a doctor or a lawyer, your income is tied directly to how many hours you work or how many clients you see, unless you have a practice and other people work for you. So the thing that causes that is scalability, because scalability breaks that limit. And the other factor is leverage. Leverage is basically multiplying your efforts using tools, technology, or it could be, even with people, it can mean using social media to reach a massive audience, promote whatever product you have or services you have, or it can be building a software that automate tasks or outsourcing parts of your business so you can focus on high impact activities. Leverage is basically more about working smarter instead of harder. So for example, because I'm a YouTuber and an engineer, I'm always going to give YouTube as an example. But I can reach millions of people worldwide just with one single upload. And I'm not necessarily bound by geography, or I'm not restricted to how many hours I work in a day, because that's leverage and scale is an action. And that's why, for example, YouTubers are able to make more money than doctors or any other profession, because we have scale and leverage on our side. So if your goal is to make more money, you have to think in terms of scalability and leverage, because if you would go to any millionaire or billionaire, they're not doing jobs where they're trading their time for money directly. Yes, everyone trades their time for money, but it's not like you get paid hourly. It can multiply that because there is scale and leverage, and if you actually want to make more money than you want right now, then you need to build something that scales, whether that's an online course, an app, a website, maybe a YouTube channel, or maybe some sort of a business. It could be anything if you have that your income can be limitless because it's not tied to the hours that you put in. So if you're working on something, you need to ask yourself, am I stuck in a model where I have to keep trading my time for money, or am I building something that can make money while I'm sleeping? If it's the former, you need to think about how to introduce scale and leverage into your work. I'm not saying that you need to quit your job right now if it's unscalable, but think about the ways that you can make it more scalable. It could mean automating part of your business, or maybe starting a side hustle that can scale, etc., etc. There's so many ways to do that. So you might be thinking, okay, but then why do scale and leverage is so important? It's because money flows to those who solve problems for most people. It's not about how hard you work, or it's not about how respected you are, but it's about how many people you can actually help with, or your work can reach and impact them. Basically, the more people you help or reach, the more wealth you can generate. And yes, in my opinion, the system is really unfair, but fairness is not going to pay our bills. Anyway, I think accepting this is very important. We should always work towards fairness of our society, but it will never and it will be. And if you want to thrive financially, you need to stop wishing the world for change, but actually changing yourself and adapt to the world. Because if you want to play the game of wealth, we need to play to win. So let's talk about working smart, and not just working hard. If you're trying to do everything, you're going to fail most of it. Okay? And I just realized that most successful and wealthy people know about it. And that's the reason why they approach activity differently. They basically don't spread themselves across a dozen of tasks. Instead, they double on few high-impact actions that deliver the real results. I just realized that in our society, it's really normalized to hustle and try to do everything right, like get your health, wealth, relationships, and everything you have in your life, right? But it's actually quite impossible, especially if you're working at 9 to 5. If you have kids, or if you have other responsibilities, it always is going to make you feel like you're falling behind at something. And I was feeling the same thing too. I was trying to take care of my family. I was trying to grow my YouTube channel. I was trying to take care of my health and maintain social relationships, etc. But when you try to do everything all at once, you actually become mediocre at all of them, if not fail at them. So one practice that I introduced into my life to make more money and also be more efficient towards my life is asking myself every single morning, if I could do just like one thing in my life today, what would it be? What is the most important thing that I can focus my energy and my attention to it that can move the needle? And this is basically thinking and applying the 80-20 rule, which says that 20% of the inputs result in the 80% of outputs. So when it comes to, business or health, wealth, music, whatever hobby you have, there's always this like 20% of core area that you need to focus on. And if you can get that right, the other things will follow. So basically, if you also want to make money right now, and then you're probably working 9 to 5, you have family, you have other responsibilities. Instead of trying to get everything done, whatever business you're working on, focus on the 20% and try to identify the 20% that is going to move the needle for you, and focus on that and put your attention into that. And every single day, if you're doing something, you need to always ask yourself, is this the 20% of whatever I'm focusing? Let's say you're working out, is this the 20%? Or let's say you're trying to eat healthy, is this the 20% that I'm focusing on? But basically shifting your mindset towards this 80-20 rule, you basically, not only start doing less because you start to say no to most things, but you also start to get faster results than other people.